Hello everyone, and welcome back to my comfortable couch here in my comfortable home in this cold winter. My first psychology video, spiritual video of 2020. I really want to kickstart this year off with this message for all of you. Now, in life, it's easy to feel very insignificant. In life, it's easy to feel like you don't mean a thing in this world. It's easy to feel like dying, like you don't matter, like you want the pain to go away and you just want to poof, disappear from existence. And this is the way a lot of people feel in the modern world today. A lot of people feel like your life is insignificant. Why? Because most people, if not 100% of the people in this world, feel like you were born only a few decades ago. Feel like you were born only 27 years ago. For me, feel like I was only born like 44 years ago. Yes, I'm 44. But the thing is this, you are not born 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or 40 years ago. You were born millions of years ago. Your DNA did not miraculously appear or get manufactured when you were born. No. You are here today because your DNA, the very stuff that makes you up right now, existed with the very first man or woman on this earth. Existed millions of years ago. You have existed millions of years, not 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Now, do you know how much it takes for that first man to pass down his DNA all the way to you being who you are today? Your DNA survived 5 major cataclysms of the world. The world ended and restarted, ended and restarted, ended and restarted 5 times. 5 times. This is science. Okay? And each time, your ancestor, which gave you your DNA today, struggled to survive. They struggled to survive, to pass down the DNA to become who you are today. And even those very few who survived the first cataclysm, they have to survive the second, and then the third, and then the fourth, and then the fifth. Now you tell me, what are the odds of you being here today after the world ended so many times before? And not only that, you survived. By some miracle, you survived. Okay? And that's not enough. Because world conquest and world war started. You will have to survive the Great Alexander conquest. You will have to, I'm not sure how many people died. And then after that, you have to survive the Great Mongol conquest, in which about 60 million people died around the world. 60 million. Any one of these 60 million people happens to be your direct ancestor, you won't be here today. And so your ancestors struggled against all of this and survived. And then you think it's gonna be all rosy, but no. If you're European, not only that. Then comes the flu pandemic, where 100,000 or more people died around the world in the 1920s. The flu pandemic. Your ancestor could have been one of those 100 million who died before passing down their genes, before having children, and you won't be here today. And as if that's not enough, mankind has to start killing each other. And so in World War I, about 60 million people died again. World War II, about 60 over million people died again. Of this 130 million people, any one of them could have been your ancestor and you wouldn't have been here today. As if that's not enough. If you're Chinese, every single time and the China dynasty changes, about 40 million people die from all the warfare. And after all these people die and your ancestor survived to become you today, okay, you have the 3 bitter years in China, which about 40 million people died. And again, that's not a long time ago. Any one of those 40 million people could have been your ancestor. Your ancestors survived and struggled against cataclysms, world wars, pandemics, where hundreds of millions of people died, but they survived to become you today. And you're telling me that whatever you're going through in life right now is bigger than going through the end of the world 5 times? And you're telling me that whatever you're going through today is worse than going through a flu pandemic that wiped out 100 million people all around the world? You're telling me that what you're going through today is worse than what your ancestors went through, having no food to eat and surviving against all odds in the Great China Famine? Your ancestors survived incredible odds. They went through incredible struggle to become who you are today. You are the living DNA of these people who went through all this struggle. You are not significant. You are huge. It takes a miracle for me to be here, for you to be here. Remember what our DNA have been through. In this consciousness, we may think that we are 20 years old or 30 years old or 40 years old. But our DNA is millions of years old and we have done amazing things and have survived amazing struggles to be here today. Always remember that you are not insignificant. We are survivors. I will continue to be so as long as you keep the faith and remember where we came from. When you forget where we came from, that's when you don't think anything about that's when you think committing suicide right now or just dying right now is okay. It's not okay. Just remember how much our DNA went through to be you today. And you tell me that it's okay to just end it right here. You gotta be ashamed of yourself. We are not insignificant. We are very powerful beings, but today's society, today's schools, they make us forget who we really are. Here I'm trying to remind you guys who we really are. Keep the faith, be strong. Annyeong.